Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll give folks a moment to join. Folks are still in the waiting room and joining the meeting.
Thank
Buenas
you.
tardes, buenas
Thank
tardes a todos. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Vamos a darles un momento a todos para que se haga la junta. Hoy tenemos varias personas esperando en el espacio de entrada. So, comenzaremos en un momento. So we'll go ahead and get started. Vamos a comenzar esta junta. So antes de comenzar, vamos a comenzar con nuestras instrucciones. So welcome everyone. I'm going to first take a moment to go through our Zoom interpretation instructions. So, antes de comenzar, voy a compartir las instrucciones para acceder a los servicios de interpretación. Voy a hacer esto primero en español y luego en inglés. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to share the interpretation instructions on screen. I'll first share these in Spanish and then in English. Para las personas que nos acompañan hoy a través de su tableta o iPad o de su teléfono inteligente, o smartphone, favor de localizar el menú en forma de tres puntos en la parte inferior de su pantalla. De ahí pueden seleccionar Language Interpretation o interpretación del lenguaje y enseguida pueden seleccionar su idioma, en este caso el español o Spanish. Para todas las personas que nos acompañan hoy a través de su computadora, pueden localizar el símbolo de interpretación en forma de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Hagan clic ahí y después elijan su lenguaje, en español o Spanish. Ahora voy a dar las instrucciones en inglés. Here are the instructions in English. For all those joining us tonight through their tablets or iPads or through their smartphones, please locate the menu in the form of three dots on your screen. You can click there, then select Language Interpretation. Then select the language of your choice. In this case, it would be English. If you're joining us through your computer, you can locate the icon in the form of a globe for interpretation at the bottom of your screen. You can click there, then select English as your language of choice. We'll give folks a moment. Another quick little note, just as a reminder, we've been adding this slide just as a reminder for folks. As we're going through the presentations, we want to make sure we're hearing from you, that we are taking the moment to hear your thoughts or feedback. So we do want to just kind of like highlight these tools. One is that chat element. So that's to the left of the heart icon. So if you do want to provide any questions, feedback, our team's always adding information in there, questions, additional resources, links that are being shared during the presentations. But it isn't also a space for you to add comments, questions, things that you want to share as well. And then also the raise hand feature. So when you click the react button, that should open up a menu and you should be able to see the raise hand feature as well. So we are always kind of happy to have you jump in, share your feedback and thoughts during the Q&A sessions for each of the conversations that we're having. But we do want to encourage you to participate. And if you do have any questions, we're here. So please use these features. So our agenda for today. So we have a number of presentations that are going to be happening. Some interactive conversations as well with some survey testing that will be happening on one of the portions of this. We'll start with a presentation on community monitoring, specifically on metals. We'll get an update on the border sanitation projects, the IDA program, as I talked about as well, and then we'll have closing remarks and adjourn. One thing that we are going to be doing a little bit differently for this meeting is that we're now moving forward, we're going to be adding a roll call to our meetings. The roll call itself is going to be a way for our team, the facilitation team, the Crimson Loss team, to just know who's in the room, make sure that we're tracking your attendance and making sure that we use that tracking information to pay those stipends for participation. So our team, what we're going to be doing is we'll pull up our CSC member roster. Bruce is going to walk through that list. If you're present, just say present. If you're here as an alternate, let us know as well. And then if you happen to join the meeting, and we'll make a note halfway through as well. You happen to join the meeting halfway through, we already done the roll call. You could always jump in the chat, just let us know, like so-and-so, Christian Mendez, I'm here, present. And then our team will make sure that we note that. We'll also be looking at who's jumping into the meeting as well. But for whatever reason we missed that, it'd be great if you could just let us know in the chat as well. So with that, I'm going to pause our screen share. And Brees, I think you're going to pull us up on the roll call.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. Okay, so starting with Alejandro Amador, Andrea Hoff, Elsa Escalante, Guadalupe Gómez, Irma Cepeda, Janet Gaitán, Janie Paz, Jessica Moreno.
Here.
Thank you. Juan Miguel Ornedo, Lorena Godínez,
Presente.
thank you. Margarita Amador, María Cervantes Partida,
Presente, Margarita Amador.
gracias.
Perdón, tuve que entrar por el enlace de Lorena Godínez porque no me llegan. Me llega el email del registro, pero nunca me llega la confirmación.
Ok.
Me lo mandó ella. Por eso aparece Godínez, pero soy yo.
Ok, gracias. María del Socorro Guerrero, María Gámez, Mariano Muñoz, Marisela Telles.
Presente.
Ok. Marie Vicario, Maritza Gerardo Chavarín,
Presente.
Olga Espinosa, Penelope Jenny Quintana, Shelby Busso, Stanford Morrison, Trinidad Herrera,
Presente.
Wendy Barrientos.
Presente.
Gracias. And Zach Hernández. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
And Brees, I see some folks have added their notes as well. So Marisela, Teas, I think Margarita, we had already noted, and some other folks. So for folks that are logging on, if we went through your name, you happen to like miss, but you heard your name, add it in the chat. Just let us know. Just say like your name, present. and then we'll make sure to note that in here. But appreciate this. With this, hopefully we're going to be able to make sure that we're tracking your attendance. If there are any questions, issues with that, then I think we could always kind of go back to the roll call. But yeah, we'll want to make sure we're implementing this as we're moving forward. And then if folks have any questions or comments on this being added to the meeting itself, let us know. We're happy to revisit this and talk through it a little bit more as well. So I'm gonna pull up our presentation again. So with that, we'll be moving over to our general updates. So we have a number of updates that some folks are going to be providing for us. The first we have is on AB617. So I believe we had Kevin slotted for this.
Hey, Christian, can you hear me?
Yes, Kevin, thank you. I'm going to put you on spotlight so you can talk through this, and then just let me know when you want me to move forward.
Okay, sounds good. I only have one slide for tonight, so fairly quick announcement, but through our AB617 incentive funding, we are working to get some air purifiers installed in schools in the region. So at the moment, our total funding amount going to these projects is just over $1 million, about $357,000 going to San Ysidro School District, 638, just short of that, to South Bay Unified. And then SIA Tech has a couple of public charter schools in the region. And all these schools are affected by the Tijuana River odors. And so we want to get air purifiers installed in those schools. So as far as the community-specific benefits, so of all the schools on our list in these school districts, all but 2 of them qualify into at least one of the following categories: disadvantaged and or low-income community, within the designated international border community under AB617, so that segment of San Ysidro and Otay Mesa, or close to the Tijuana River Valley and experiencing the ongoing odor issues. Many of them are impacted, and even further north places are impacted by the odors. But those last 2 schools that don't quite fall into those categories, they are right next to a freeway junction, and they're right across a freeway from San Ysidro. So that combination of everything, the odors from Tijuana River as well as the pollution from traffic near the border, make them really good candidates in our mind for this air purifier funding. So we have some kind of procedural steps to get through before the projects go into execution, figuring out the contracts and how to route the payment to the correct places, all the boring behind the scenes stuff. But we're getting close to being able to get those projects moving forward. Actually, maybe there's a second slide. I don't remember if translation pushed it to 2 slides. Yes, okay. So obviously those are not the only areas where there are or not the only school districts that operate in that area, and also school districts cover students, starting around age 5, but younger children than that, we want to be able to cover with some air purifier projects as well. So to that point, we are working to get into contact with other facilities where young people would be. So school district wise, that's going to be the Chula Vista and Sweetwater school districts. So we're reaching out to our contacts at those schools to gauge their interest in these projects and that funding as well as daycares that operate in San Ysidro, Imperial Beach, Nestor, all the neighborhoods around the Tijuana River area. So wanted to make that announcement as kind of our ongoing participatory budgeting framework, where we're letting everybody know and checking in about the funding that we're providing for these projects. So I'm here to answer any questions at the moment. And of course, if you have questions that come up later, you can reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat as well. But yeah, with that, does anybody have any questions or comments?
Look at the chat, Kevin, see if there's any questions, and we could always get more. If anything else comes up during the meeting on topics as well, or that connects folks, I think we could always follow up as well, Kevin.
Sounds good.
I'm trying to see if I see anyone who raised hands. I don't see anything. So I think, Kevin, thank you so much for that update. And then we'll follow up if anything else comes up.
Sounds good. Thank you, Christian. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And then for this next update, this is actually for the Office of Environmental Justice. Shalom, I know we don't have Lauren. David is on, I believe.
I can provide this update. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. Welcome this evening. Lauren wanted to make sure that you were all aware that there's going to be a couple of drop-in sessions to support people in registering for the free air purifiers, also known as the IDE program. And so these registration events are going to happen at the Imperial Beach County Library at 810 Imperial Beach Boulevard. We will be having one tomorrow between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. And then on Wednesday, August 27th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. as well. If you or someone you know has maybe had a challenge registering for the free air purifier online, we're going to be out in the community supporting people, walking through the applications with folks, making sure you have the information you need to get access to your free air purifiers. As always, feel free to reach out to myself or Lauren if you have any questions on the program. And please let your friends and family, neighbors know to come out to get registered. I'll also put in the chat box as well, and we'll probably put it several times this evening, but the registration link that you can share also with others as well if folks are able to do it on their own online. But if not, we're going to be out in the community tomorrow, the 21st, and then also on the 27th.
And then I think we had one more slide, and I think
Yeah.
there's a little bit more of a shout out, I think, on behalf of Lauren. But Shalom, I'll give you the honor of shouting out these folks.
Yeah, we also want to say thank you to CSC members who have been for months now supporting us in spreading the word about the IDE program, the free air purifier program, specifically Margarita, Maria, Olga, and Trini. I'm sure that there may have been others too, and I apologize if I missed somebody, but these folks specifically have, you know, on a number of occasions have asked for flyers, have actually been passing it out in their communities, at their churches, and at their social groups that they're a part of, and we really, really appreciate it. We know that the one of the best ways to get information out in the community is to word of mouth by people who know and trust you. And so we really, really encourage you all to continue to share this program with others. I do want to share a really important thing in terms of a milestone. So far, about 5,500 air purifiers have been distributed in less than a year. We still need to, there's still so much more need out there, but I just think that's a great milestone that we should also be celebrating, and that would not have been possible if it weren't for the community steering committee here, and specifically the folks on the screen who have been sharing about this program and all. And so if you'd like more flyers to share with your community about the program, please reach out to Lauren, and we'd be happy to come over and drop them off for you all so that you can continue to share about this program with others. So thank you all for your continued support and sharing this really important resource to friends and family.
Shalom. And again, the flowers to all the folks that have been involved, and I think, you know, the folks that we have on screen right now, but then other folks as well that have been involved in supporting the work. But I know that our team put a link on the chat as well with Lauren's contact information. I'm pretty sure we've seen Lauren's email come through, but if questions do come up, you have ideas on how to get the flyers out. And I think Shalom noted, if you have family members, neighbors that could benefit from the program, reaching out and I think connecting with them as well. So I think there will be a little bit more of a conversation later in today's meeting. We'll be doing a little bit of a survey on that topic, but then we'll plug that in as well. So with that, we'll keep moving. I did want to open it up to see if there are any other community updates that folks would like to share. Anything that your community organization is working on, any events, things that you want to plug in. This is a space that we do want to make sure that we're also acknowledging that there are a lot of things happening in the community and provide a little bit of space for that as well. So if there's anything that folks would like to share, one, you can raise your hand and give a quick note on that, or you could also just email us, and then we can also include it as part of that weekly digest that we do send out to folks. So let's see if there are any hands, and if not, then we can follow up. Not seeing anything, so I'm gonna move forward actually, and I do see.
Disculpe, una pregunta.
Sí.
Soy la señora María Guerrero, promotora de Casa Familiar. Mucho gusto y gracias por la invitación. Mire, yo me congrego en una iglesia y bastante gente está interesada en tener un purificador, pero varia gente es indocumentada. No sé si califiquen también o no se les pueda proveer por esa situación.
Shalon, is there any, I guess, what is the documentation that is needed to become a recipient?
Yeah, so really proof of address. And so it could be a cell phone statement, a water bill, a gas bill, electricity bill, a rent payment receipt, car registration, could also insurance statement. But if folks, and I just put in the link, I put in the chat box the link to the IDA program website that has more of those specifics. If you are having trouble showing kind of proof of address, I encourage you to reach out to us. And I'm going to put in here an email and phone number as well, because we don't want those things. We don't want proof of address to be a barrier. And so we want to work with folks who that might be a barrier. So I'm going to put in here a phone number and an email address if folks feel that they may not have an ID or something that shows proof of residence within the boundaries of the free program. So I'm putting that information right here. Please do give us a call or send us an email, and we will work with you to figure out how we can make sure that if you live within the boundaries of the program, that you are able to receive a free filter. I know Mike is on the line too, and he and his team with Anita are the lead on that. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add to that, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Shalem. I think you covered it completely. I think the other thing I would add is those registration events that you mentioned earlier in the conversation are another opportunity for folks to show up. At those events, there's nothing you have to download or upload or provide. You can just show a copy of any of those types of documents that Shalem mentioned. That just, the key is being able to match the name on the application with the address and confirm that they're within the eligible area. So if finding that documentation is an issue and or uploading that documentation in the online portal is an issue, I would encourage folks to come to the drop-in registration events that we have. And there will be many others going forward as well. So I think that's the only thing I would add to what you said.
Thank you, Mike. And yeah, just for Maria, I think at the core of your question was if that would be a limiting factor for folks who participate in the program. I think from the response from Shalom and Mike, that shouldn't be an issue itself. So I think, if you want to connect with Lauren directly, I'm sure Lauren would be more than happy to have a separate conversation with you just to address any concerns that there might be regarding immigration status and then becoming a recipient of the program itself. But we can work that out, and I think have that conversation separately offline as well. So thank you very much for that question. And
then Christian, I just also want to respond to Maria's additional question in the chat box. Thank you, Maria, for being, taking the leadership to want to share this information, particularly about the two events. So the events are registration events, not distribution events, meaning that The event is just to sign up for the filter, and then the air purifier and filter, and then that is going to be mailed directly to that person's home. And so it's a registration event. And so you don't have to pre-register in order to go. Those events are specifically to support community members, just as the ones you've mentioned, right? So they can come there. There's going to be a team there that's going to be working with folks, making sure that we can be creative in terms of making sure that you live within the area and you can meet the eligibility criteria. But again, it's just to make sure we're supporting people in the registration, and then that air purifier will then be mailed to their home. So I just want to make that clear. Those events, the air purifiers won't be there physically, but it's really to support people in the registration process.
I'm looking at the chat, see if there are any other, and I do see somewhat of a confirmation, I think, from Maria, saying that that sounds good.
Can I add something, Christian? Maybe
Yeah.
what we can do is in the follow-up to this meeting, we could include in the email, because there is a digital flyer. We can include in the email the digital flyer that highlights those two registration events. That we could send out to folks, and then put Lauren's email there again. If folks want printed out versions, we can then coordinate with folks there. So we'll make sure to follow up via email with folks.
Sounds good. All right, folks. And I do want to make sure we have time. So if there are any other questions, I want to make sure we address them as well. So I know we have another topic on screen right now, but if folks do have questions regarding the IDA program, let us know, add them in the chat. We'll respond to your questions, and then we can revisit them when we get to the next section as well. So if anything else comes up, add it in the chat. We'll stop for a moment as well. So with that, I'm not seeing anything else coming in the chat or any raised hands. I am going to move forward. I already have our next section screen. Rebecca, I see you on screen as well. So with that, I'm going to have Rebecca come up to the mic, our virtual mic, and give us a brief presentation. And Rebecca, I know we have a number of slides on here. I think it'd be great if we could pause at some moments, just pausing and making sure that if folks have any questions, any thoughts, we get some of those questions as well. So there's a couple spots that I think I identified, and I'll just kind of like jump in and do a little bit of a pause and a question check as well. So with that, I'm gonna hand it off to you.
All right, great. I'm assuming you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rebecca Simpson. I'm an air pollution chemist with APCD. I am the lead of the metals monitoring program in the AB617 group at APCD. And today I'll be presenting the 2024 metals data update for the international border community. And first, just as a reminder for everybody of what to expect for this year, this is the community monitoring schedule. In April, we had a black carbon presentation. This is the metals presentation. And then in November, we'll have organic and elemental carbon. And in February of next year, we'll have a VOC's presentation. And then kind of as needed, we'll have H2S updates. So to give you an idea of what I'll be talking about today, here's an outline. We'll have an overview of airborne metals and their sources in PM10, their health effects, and the monitoring sites that we're using to measure them. In the analysis section, we'll compare the IBC data to health standards, and we'll look at site-by-site comparisons, long-term annual trends, and some seasonal trends. And then I'll hand it off to Shalem to talk about reducing airborne metals in the IBC community with specifically some SERP strategies that address that. Okay, so in general, the most abundant airborne metals come from wind-generated, like natural sources. So some of the biggest sources are sea spray, like you see on the left, and that generates a ton of sodium that we see in our metals. And then on the right, you can see like a dust plume. Quite a bit of dust is also in a lot of our PM10. Actually, it's mostly dust, probably, especially at a place like our Donovan site in Otay Mesa. This is actually real data, but it's from more of a coastal site. So this is what you'd expect to see kind of at San Isidro. The metals that you mainly see you're probably pretty familiar with: sodium from sea spray, iron and calcium, and aluminum, magnesium in dust. But I'll bring your attention to this little yellow slice in the overall pie of metals. And these are going to be the toxic metals, and we're focusing on those today. And these are the ones that come from human activities, and they're lower in concentration, but they're much more toxic than these other metals. So typical anthropogenic sources of these toxic metals include roadside dust from paved and unpaved roads. We have a lot of highways here, and in Otay we have some slightly unpaved roads. We have tire and brake wear, cross-border emissions as well, such as trash burning. There are factories just south of us in Tijuana. Warehouse activity. Many warehouses have sprung up in the Otay area, as I'm sure you know. Fuel combustion, aircraft, fuel combustion includes any fuels. So, fuels for electricity, but also, aircraft. We have Brownfield Airport. We have, Border Patrol helicopters, non-road vehicles, trains, and heavy-duty trucks. Now, these are the 6 metals that we'll talk about today, and they are the metals that are designated as kind of the most toxic by the EPA. And here are some of their more specific sources. And you can see that a common thread through most of them is trash burning and a lot of processing and manufacturing of metal alloys. So for arsenic, for example, you see it in waste incineration, as well as pesticides, soil erosion. Beryllium is from alloys as well. Cadmium can be from alloys, pesticides, paint, and actually there's quite a bit in cigarette smoke. We know lead comes from burning leaded fuels and other industrial processes, and manganese comes from iron, can be from brake wear in small amounts, fossil fuels, power plants, and nickel can be in many things, including dust, but also trash burning, alloy processing, etc. So for these 6 metals that we are going to focus on, arsenic, beryllium, cadmium, lead, manganese, and nickel, these are some of the known health risks for each toxic metal, with at least the known cancer and non-cancer health effects are highlighted. So the cancer effects are in kind of the burnt orange color, and in the purple color we have the non-cancer risks. Most of these are known or associated with cancers, except for lead and manganese, which are primarily associated with neurological effects. Let's see, beryllium has even a specific type of chronic beryllium disease. I think it's more of a occupational issue from long-term exposure. But overall, yeah, this is why they're classified as most toxic. So where are we measuring and monitoring these metals? These are the two AB617 communities. We have Portside in the northern area near downtown, and then the IBC, of course. We have two sites, one in San Isidro and one that we call Donovan. And we'll zoom in on those two sites. So the San Isidro site, you see a picture of it on the bottom left. That's our actual, the roof of our actual monitoring site and our instrument in the foreground. It's just east of I-5. It's at a fire station. You can kind of see one of the exit signs from the highway on the left. And then on the right is our Donovan State Prison site in Otay Mesa. This is kind of a panoramic view of some of our instruments on the deck. And you can see we're kind of surrounded by kind of meadow, and we do see a lot of dust there. But there's an Amazon warehouse kind of in the foreground in the distance, and we're looking south in that picture. So this is our basic process. So on the left, that's the instrument that we use to sample our metals. We use the Teflon or plastic filter that you see on the right. That's what it looks like when it's, nice and white and new. We put it in the instrument and we sample for 24 hours. We need to sample for that long at least in order to get enough material so that we can detect it with the chemical instrumentation. So a sampled filter looks more like the kind of brownish one you see below. Once we collect all of our filters, we send them off to a lab to be chemically analyzed. And then that data gets sent back to us. And we check it thoroughly, call it QA, QC. And then we put it together and present it.
And Rebecca, I think this is a good moment to pause,
Sure.
So I want to see if there are any questions, any thoughts on the information that we've seen up to now. We've seen information on both what's being looked at, where the collection's happening, and then that process of sampling and analysis. But I want to see if folks have any questions before we keep moving through this. And I did want to add a note. I think you mentioned QA/QC, which is quality assurance and quality control. So that's just making sure that what is being looked at has been reviewed and I don't say certified, but somewhere in that line. Yeah, there's been a process. It's not just kind of like a draft.
Right. Yeah, these are advanced chemical procedures, and we're looking at tiny concentrations that you'll see in the data. I'll try to explain kind of how small they are. And it's sometimes you have to make sure that you're getting enough signal, basically.
Yeah.
So that
So I'm looking at the chat. So I see a note from Brees, you have your hand up.
Yeah, you might have mentioned this, but are the monitors specifically just monitoring for toxic metals? Like, is that their only job?
Yes, in this case, this particular instrument that we use is just dedicated to the toxic metals.
Thank you, Brisa.
Oh, I have a follow-up.
Oh, go ahead.
Is two sufficient? Are two monitors sufficient to capture like the activity that's happening in this specific community? Like, is that an accurate are two monitors capturing an accurate amount of data to show like what's happening in the community? And is there like, should there be more?
We are working on expanding. I think David Soderman would like to chime in.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm David Soderman. I'm the chief of the monitoring division that oversees all the monitoring done through the international border. We have identified additional sites that we are working on getting the various memorandums of understandings with the property owners, getting permits, getting contracts in place to expand the monitoring network within the border area. We expect to have one site up and running at the Caltrans truck crossing, kind of down there, down where it kind of crosses the border. In the next, I would say 3 to 5 months. And then we also have we're working with the city of San Diego to establish a monitoring site at Brown Field in the kind of the southeast corner there. And so that one will take, we're just starting negotiations. We got to get a memorandum of agreement with them first, but we do have kind of a verbal agreement that we can be there. And we've talked with the fire captains and they're supportive of it. But we do need to go through the paperwork process, which unfortunately does take time. But we are working on that to expand the network.
And would a letter from the community steering committee be helpful in that process?
I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but I don't think it's needed. We have the support of the mayor to do this. We have the support of the fire captain. It's just a matter of going through the legal process of drafting that agreement in place and having all the right verbiage for liability and what are the insurance requirements and what exactly are we going to do there, where are we going to get power from. And so there is a process to do that, and so we're working on that. We're really close with getting that memorandum of understanding signed, which then once we get that signed by the city and by us, then we can start working on establishing a contract with the vendor to actually do the physical work. They need to get permits with the city, and so that is a process. It unfortunately does take longer just because there's trenching involved, there's permits involved with SDG&E, with the city, inspections to make sure everything's done correctly. So it does take a little bit of while, but we are working on that.
And David, just adding, I guess, just follow up on that. Are the structures where the monitors themselves sited, those are self-standing sites that are being built on site?
So it kind of depends on what the purpose of the site is to whether or not we have to put like a shipping container or one of the construction mobile offices there, or if we can just construct like basically a chain link cage, that's 8 feet tall and X amount of feet wide, and put the power in. And so that's kind of what we're looking at with these two sites is more of a enclosed area and not necessarily a mini office structure or trailer, right? And so that actually goes quicker and is cheaper because we don't have to have as much power to power like the air conditioning units, because we're not putting air conditioning units and having like an office space there.
Thank you, David.
Right. Yeah, I could mention these two sites are also double as ambient sites, so they have kind of a full suite of measurements. That's why they're on top of these nice decks with lots of space.
Yeah. So Rebecca, I'm gonna hand it back over to you.
Okay. Okay, so here's some of the data. So this is 2024 again, and these are averages. And so to not try to do too many things at once, we'll look at just 3 of the toxic metals, nickel, manganese, and arsenic first. And to kind of orient you, the y-axis, the one on the axis on the left doesn't matter that much because we are comparing it to the health risk levels, and I've put those lines right on top of the graphs so that you can see how they compare. But we're looking at nanograms of metal per cubic meter of air. You know, and a nanogram is a billionth of a gram. It's actually, you know, only a tiny portion of a grain of salt, table salt. So we're talking about really small concentrations. And a cubic meter of air is like, if you imagine the size of a standard fridge, that's about, that volume is about a cubic meter. So looking at these, we can see that both Donovan and San Isidro, they tend to be pretty similar in terms of their metals levels overall. Sometimes one is a little higher than the other for different reasons. But with nickel, we are under the 1 in a million cancer risk, which is a good sign. And yeah, it's maybe not far enough under, but we're under it for now. And same with manganese, we're below that non-cancer risk. Manganese doesn't have a cancer risk associated with it, at least that's, you know, known to the EPA or other people who have studied this. Arsenic, it looks like it is very close to the 1 in a million cancer risk, but I'd just like to note here that there is quite a bit of uncertainty with arsenic. As you can see on the left, we're at, you know, 0.5 nanograms per cubic meter. This is a very low concentration, and this metal in particular is difficult to measure at such low levels. It's not just us, it's everyone. So we may be below the level, but perhaps close. So for our final three toxic metals, we have lead, cadmium, and beryllium, and you can see that Donovan and San Isidro are quite a bit below the non-cancer risk for lead and cadmium, and very much below for beryllium. So that is encouraging. Looking at some long-term trends at Donovan, we had some pre-existing a pre-existing program where we were looking at metals at the Donovan State Prison site. So we do have data from 2016 to 2018, and then there's a gap in 2019. I believe they were constructing a new site at that time, but then we have data after that. So a pretty good trend to see here. And same thing, we're looking at nickel, manganese, and arsenic and their concentrations. And we can see over the years, with, you know, with the exception of 1 or 2 years, which may be very high due to, you know, lab issues. It could be other things besides having a lot of pollution. We see that the general trends are decreasing, especially with manganese, and arsenic appears to be mostly decreasing. Same story with lead, cadmium, and beryllium. For beryllium, I didn't put the non-cancer risk on here because it's much higher. So we're very below the level, which is good. And you can see, especially with cadmium, where we have a decreasing trend, and same with lead. Okay, so just taking a look at some seasonal trends, I only picked out these 3 metals, nickel, manganese, and arsenic, to show the trends. Overall, they're very similar. Or all the toxic metals are very similar in terms of their seasonal trends. And in general, they follow what we see with particulate matter in general. We see that particulate matter tends to increase in the colder months. And I'll explain why that happens again in the next slide. But just for now, you can visually see that from winter to spring to summer to fall, we have, slight increases in most of these metals. One of the other things to note was that the winter of 2024 was actually pretty wet. We were above average in precipitation. We had a good amount of rain that winter, so that can also reduce concentrations. Rain really is good at cleaning out the atmosphere, so it probably reduced some of these particulate matter concentrations. Whereas in the fall, we start to see it, we see very dry conditions and even some Santa Ana winds occurring. And so, and with the colder nights, we start to see increases. And so this is the mechanism that explains why this occurs. In general, cooler temperatures increase the particulate matter concentrations in the fall and the winter. In the summer, like on the right-hand side, we're in the summer, it's very hot, especially this week, and heat rises, right? And it warms the ground and it causes convection and a lot of turbulence. If you've flown a plane or landed near a hot landing strip, it's very turbulent. And that actually pushes this bubble that's kind of above our heads all the time, called the boundary layer. It pushes it up. It's much higher than I'm showing, but that's what happens. It rises. And then in the winter, when the air cools and the land cools, you get more of a compression. And so the same amount of metals or particulate matter that are getting emitted in the two different seasons are now more concentrated because it's in a much smaller bubble of air essentially. And a similar situation happens at night as well. And I'm actually going to, one more slide. Future community monitoring actions. We'd, of course, like to expand our network and sample at additional sites when we can. And yeah, we're working on that actively. We're always analyzing the other metals because they can also give us insights into different sources of pollution. And we'll explore additional collaborations and perhaps some PM 2.5 sampling and comparison with emissions inventories. So now I'm going to hand this off to Shalem.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I wanted to also make sure that we grounded this conversation as it relates to the things that we are collectively actively doing to ensure that we are reducing airborne metals, specifically those toxic airborne metals in the community. Many of you all participated in developing the Community Emission Reduction Program, also known as the SERP. And there's actually a number of actions in the SERP that once they're fully implemented would actually reduce those toxic airborne metals. And hopefully we'll be able to continue to see those trends going down, meaning that it's a healthier environment for everyone, people, animals, all living things, right? And so as it relates to, and I won't go over these in all this in too much detail, but I wanted to have this much detail on the slide so that if you wanted to look back, you had the information at your fingertips. As it relates to roadside dust, so unpaved roads or tire and brake wear, there's a couple of big strategies that are seeking to reduce air pollution and as a result, airborne metals. One is around reducing exposure near freeways. So having buffer areas that we've talked about with trees, with greenery can help mitigate or lessen the impact as well. But there are also a number of actions as well that try to reduce the reliance on passenger vehicles and the amount of vehicles in the region. Not only by investing more in transit, but also investing in improving traffic flows within the community itself. Next slide. Also, one of the things that we've actually talked about here a few times is the Air District is looking at potentially actions or maybe even regulations to reduce air pollution from warehouse operations. So as we know, in East Otay Mesa, there's a lot of warehouses. And also we are continuing to work with our partners in Baja in terms of looking for strategies to reduce air pollution that's coming from across the border from factories and also trash burning. Next slide. And as Rebecca mentioned, fuel combustion, right, is also a pretty big factor in terms of airborne metals. There's a number of actions in the Community Emission Reduction Program that seeks to support transitioning away from heavy-duty diesel trucks to more zero-emission vehicles and different infrastructure projects around the border area to support that as well. Next slide. But we also have fuel combustion from airports as well. There is a SERP strategy around supporting fuels, air fuel that doesn't have as much of those toxins as Rebecca mentioned as well. And then we also know that there's a train that runs through the heart of the community as well. There is a SERP action in there around doing more research around that specifically. There isn't much information. I believe San Diego State has done some research, but trying to find strategies around reducing air pollution from sources such as trains as well. And looking at different strategies around cutting air pollution from construction sites as well. Next slide. So those SERP actions and strategies I know could be take some time, right, to fully implement. And so we wanted to also leave you all, and the community monitoring team did a great job of kind of identifying things that we can do day to day to help lessen the potential impact of these airborne metals in just our day-to-day activities as well, as we are collectively to continue to still working on those longer term strategies and ultimate solutions to this issue. If you remember the image that Rebecca showed, she was showing that during the warmer times of the year, there's more of an opportunity for that air to circulate. So taking that concept in your day, thinking about, it's really important to ventilate your home, right? But thinking about maybe what's the warmest time of the day to open up those windows to get that fresh air ventilating, rather than opening up the windows maybe in the coldest part of the day. And then another thing, a simple action to lessen the impact of potential exposure to like airborne metals if you find yourself driving in a vehicle, important to close those windows, right? If you're on the freeway or community street, and then press that little button in your car that shows kind of the air recirculating, particularly while you're in traffic as well. So those are kind of two small ways to, in kind of day-to-day, be able to kind of lessen our exposure to airborne metals. But ultimately the solutions, right, to continue to see that trend go down is really these bigger solutions around addressing the air pollution sources that Rebecca had mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. So at this time, I want to go ahead and turn it back over to Rebecca to close out this conversation here.
Right. Thanks, Shalem. That's all we have for today. So this is our contact information. Please give us send us a message if you're curious about anything or want to talk. Yep. Hopefully that'll be in the chat. There we go. And yeah, I don't know if we have time for questions, but
yeah, if there are any questions, I think we can take them. Let's see if folks have anything to add in the chat. Shalom noted, this is something that it's a lot of information. The slides are going to be available to folks. So if there's information or like further discussion or conversations on the topic, to reach out. We'll connect on that, and we can follow up with any specific responses as well. Not seeing any other comments. But Rebecca, and I know Shalom's logging off for another commitment as well. But Rebecca, thank you so much for being here. I think if questions come up, we'll reach out, and then appreciate you being here with us today.
great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So we're going to move on our agenda. For this next section, we're actually going to have a presentation from Sally with IBWC. Sally, I did see you a little bit earlier. Hey, Sally.
Hello.
I am going to pull up your presentation in a moment, and then if you want to give me a second. Let's see. Okay, that should be on screen now. And if, Sally, can you see them on your end?
I can. Yes. Are you
Awesome.
ready?
Perfect. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll hand it off to you.
Okay.
And
Very good.
Awesome. Thank you, Sally.
I had the opportunity to do a presentation for this group a number of months ago, and we wanted to update that. We have a lot of good progress to report, so I'm pleased to be able to share this information with you today. Next slide, please. First of all, I want to be able to show you just a map of the area so you can understand a little bit about the infrastructure that we have. That thick black line that crosses from left to right across the middle of the screen is the international boundary. The blue line is the Tijuana River, and as you're probably aware, it flows in this area from Mexico to the United States through San Isidro, out through the Tijuana estuary to the ocean at Imperial Beach. And then you have in yellow, orange, and red some of the different wastewater pipelines. The line that you see north of the international border is what we call the ocean outfall. And so the little green dot there is our international wastewater treatment plant in San Isidro. It treats wastewater and discharges it 3.5 miles offshore into the Pacific Ocean. You also see the San Antonio de los Buenos treatment plant, which is the little green dot south of the border. And that plant is brand new. It is now treating 18 million gallons per day of wastewater and discharging it directly to the ocean right there at the coastline south of the border. And the good news is we have this increased treatment capacity in Mexico, but we still have about another 25 million gallons per day or so being discharged at that location without any treatment at all. You will see toward the middle of the screen PB1 and PB Sila. Those are critical pumping plants. And PB Sila pumps water out of the Tijuana River into the pipeline system in Tijuana. And then that is what is discharged at the coast south of the border. And then PB1 helps to regulate the flows to our treatment plant as well as to the coast in Mexico. And what is really important is trying to reduce the flows in the Tijuana River. It's the sewage that is untreated combined with treated sewage and other water, groundwater, stormwater, etc., that is in the river that is causing the significant odor problem, health concerns, and primarily the beach closures as well. Some of those beach closures are due to the discharges south of the border, but we've been really focused on seeing what we can do to address the flow of untreated wastewater in the Tijuana River, particularly during the dry season. During the rainy season, it is huge volumes because of all the rainwater in there, and that's much more difficult to get a handle on. So we're focused on the dry weather flows, which of course is spring, summer, fall. Next slide, please. So a minute is an international agreement between the United States and Mexico through the International Boundary and Water Commission. 3 years ago, we signed minute number 328, sanitation infrastructure projects in San Diego, California, Tijuana, Baja California, for immediate implementation and for future development. And that identified 17 sanitation projects and funding commitments from both countries, including a project that is currently in design to double the treatment capacity at our International Wastewater Treatment Plant off Dairy Mart Road in San Isidro, the construction of the new treatment plant in Mexico, which has been completed very quickly, as well as replacement or repair of sewer pipelines and pump stations in Mexico. Next slide. So the positive update that I wanted to bring to you today is that we are fast-tracking expansion of the South Bay International Wastewater Treatment Plant in San Isidro. How are we doing this? Well, our goal is to immediately increase the capacity of that plant in order to reduce or eliminate the flow in the Tijuana River that's entering the United States. So we currently treat 25 million gallons per day at the plant to secondary treatment levels, and we have awarded work to increase that capacity by 10 million gallons per day. We awarded work for the temporary equipment we need in May, and we notified our contractor on May 20th, 2025, that they were to proceed with a 100-day project to increase the capacity. And our completion date is a week away on August the 28th. You can see in that picture there, which I just took on Monday, those are some new tanks that have been brought in to help us meet this 100-day acceleration goal. Next slide, please. So when we do the additional treatment, it is going to be advanced primary treatment rather than the higher level of secondary treatment, but we will blend the secondary and the advanced primary treatment for discharge through the ocean outfall. Next slide, please. So the benefit of the treatment is that it will decrease or eliminate the dry weather sewage flows in the Tijuana River. We will see a reduction in odors in the community. It probably won't be an immediate reduction because there is still water that is in the river channel. It will be stagnant. You will have sediment that's been affected by sewage for an extended period of time. It's going to take some period of time for the river channel to dry out and for the odors to be reduced, but we do expect that to occur as a result of the work that we're doing. There will be fewer beach closures, and there will be an overall improvement in the environment. Next slide. So one of the other aspects of the project that we're undertaking is we are continuing to treat 25 million gallons per day at the secondary level during construction. And but we are expanding the capacity to 35 million gallons per day. Again, we are blending the advanced primary and secondary treatment and discharging this 3.5 miles offshore through our existing South Bay Ocean outfall. We will see a significant decrease or elimination of dry weather sewage flows in the Tijuana River, and we will see an improvement in air quality and water quality in the United States. And again, starting August 28th. So another significant development was that a month ago, on July 24th in Mexico City, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and Mexico's Environmental Ministry, Semarnat, their leaders, signed a memorandum of understanding that emphasizes the importance of finishing these projects as soon as possible in order to address the sewage crisis that we've been facing at our border. So we want to ensure that all of those Minute 328 projects are completed by no later than December 31st, 2027. And we also got an assurance that Mexico is going to allocate the needed funds over the next 2 years so that they can complete the projects in Mexico. And we expect to do a new international agreement by the end of this calendar year, and I have been working on that diligently for the last few weeks, that will address some additional concerns that we're facing in the border region because of the Tijuana River sanitation problem. So the schedule in the Memorandum of Understanding says that the International Boundary and Water Commission will convene at least quarterly. We want to keep up the pressure and keep tracking our progress. We will complete the expansion of our international treatment plant to 35 million gallons per day by August 28th of this year, next week. And that a very important project is for Mexico to start the construction process that would reduce flows to the Tijuana River by 10 million gallons per day. What is happening is currently there are 2 treatment plants in Tijuana, Arturo Herrera and La Morita. They treat sewage to Mexican standards and then discharge that into the Tijuana River. And they are a significant, if not the main source of flow in the river during the dry season. So getting this project constructed to get that treated sewage out of the river is going to be very significant in terms of reducing the transboundary flow in the Tijuana River that's been affecting our communities. So we'll do the new minute by the end of this calendar year, and by the end of 2027, we will complete all of those 17 Minute 328 projects, including the expansion of the South Bay International Wastewater Treatment Plant to 50 million gallons per day. I think when I last spoke to the group, I probably told you that we were going to finish that project 2030, 2031. So this commitment to accelerate it and get it done by 2027 is really an incredible commitment that our new agency head, Commissioner Chad McIntosh, has made for people in this community. And then we also want to evaluate the construction schedules for all of the projects and see if there are additional steps that can be undertaken to accelerate them. Next slide. So some of the commitments that the United States has made is that the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency will release some of the funding that it has been holding back to complete the rehabilitation of a couple of those Minute 328 projects, but that is contingent on Mexico getting started on the diversion of those treated wastewater flows out of the Tijuana River, as well as construction of the parallel gravity line, which is an important pipeline that conveys wastewater near the border in Mexico. And we also have a commitment in the United States to expand the treatment capacity at our international plant to 50 million gallons per day by December of 2027, and that interim expansion by the end of this month to 35 million gallons per day. We also indicated that we would inform Mexico of the expenses that we incur for trash removal and sediment dredging on our side of the Tijuana River. because that is an important problem that we have to address. Next slide. So Mexico has indicated that it will immediately seek Mexican funding to start construction of certain projects in 2025, including the diversion of that 10 million gallons per day of treated effluent entering the Tijuana River, making sure it doesn't go into the river anymore, and to rehabilitate the parallel gravity line, which is an $8.4 million project. That diversion project, I was at a meeting on Friday in Mexico City, and the Mexican section of the International Boundary and Water Commission showed a schedule that would be completed in 2027. And then Mexico is also committing to appropriate the additional funding that it needs to complete the projects by the end of 2027. Next slide. So what are some of the things that are going to be included in this new this new international agreement that we need to finish by the end of the calendar year? So one of the things is that we are going to look at the appropriateness of doing an ocean outfall south of the border. As I mentioned, currently that there's a creek that flows directly into the ocean that conveys both treated and untreated wastewater. So we want to see what the feasibility is of building a pipeline in Mexico to discharge it farther offshore, just as we do in the United States. We also want to assess expansion of the San Antonio de los Buenos treatment plant in Mexico. This is something that could help address future wastewater treatment capacity needs south of the border. And another thing is to construct and maintain the sediment basin at Matadero Canyon, which is Smuggler's Gulch on the U.S. side of the border. We do have flows that come across at that area, and when we get a lot of sediment, not only is it affecting the Tijuana River Valley and the estuary, but it affects our ability to pump the wastewater back to our plant for treatment because everything gets clogged up with sediment. So that's an important aspect of our operations, as well as construction of a new wastewater treatment plant in Mexico that is located in southwestern Tijuana to provide treatment for an additional 3 million gallons per day. And then we also want to have a process underway so that in Tijuana, they can do stormwater control and sediment control. One of the things that we have observed is in the United States, when you're doing a construction project and you have a lot of soil in the area, you put up sediment control fences so that if it rains, that dirt doesn't get washed off-site. We've observed that often with construction projects south of the border, they're not using those sort of sediment fences, or sometimes they use different sorts of swales. They look sort of like sandbags, but they're a different material to control sediment flow. And so we want to make sure that those best practices can be implemented south of the border. And that'll help benefit us because it won't be as much sediment coming into the United States. So this is just an overview. Next slide, please. Sorry. This is an overview of the projects that we are undertaking in accordance with Minute 328, that 2022 agreement, and that we're accelerating under the July 2025 Memorandum of Understanding. They completed PBCLA, the pumping station there that takes the water out of the river. We've seen great improvement in operation since that was done. One of their wastewater pipelines, known as the Oriente Collector, was done a couple of years ago. The rehabilitation of some of the pumping plants and some of the canyons has been undertaken. The new wastewater treatment plant was completed earlier this year, as was repair of another pipeline known as the International Bypass Collector. And then we have the rehabilitation of Pumping Plant 1 is currently under procurement. And that is a very important pumping plant because when those pumps go out, they lose pumping capacity. They can't pump it all to their plant and to their coast, and that can contribute to increased transboundary flow. Next slide. So we have lots of information on our website. If you scan that QR code, you can go directly to the links for updates on the San Diego Tijuana sanitation projects. And you can get updates on the Tijuana River Sewage Memorandum of Understanding, etc. And you'll see our final slide here. We give regular updates on X, formerly known as Twitter. And again, there's a QR code for additional information about the International Boundary and Water Commission. So anyway, just to highlight, the key message is we are about to expand capacity at the South Bay International Wastewater Treatment Plant, and we believe when that is done, we will greatly reduce and hopefully eliminate the dry weather flows in the Tijuana River, which will lead to a significant improvement in the sewage odor and health concerns for those community members that are living along the Tijuana River Valley, as well as people who like to go to the beach, because we should have less contamination from the river hitting the beach. So that's exciting news in the short term, and we are accelerating the other projects so that we can get as much done over the next 2 years as possible. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Sally. That information, the whole presentation, I think there's a lot of good information in there, and I think the updates I'm seeing, folks responding via chat, just noting, I think like the excitement. I think that seeing the collaborative nature, I think of the work itself happening, that Mexico is stepping up on that as well, and some of the projects that are happening there as well, with that binational solutions like framework. So I do want to see if folks have any other comments or questions for Sally. If folks want to raise their hand, or if not, add anything to the chat, and then I'm sure Sally would be more in the place to answer any questions on here. I'm not seeing any hands. Sally, one thing that's always try to make a plug is that if folks, I know folks are kind of seeing all the information. Folks might have questions after the presentation. Not sure if we can add your contact information or an email that folks have felt like if there's a question that they would like answered or followed up on, maybe you can add your contact info. And that way
I will put it in the chat.
Yeah, that'd be great. And yeah, that'll give folks, I think, a moment that if anything else comes up once we're done with the meeting itself, I think you can follow up with Sally, or if not, the facilitation team, and we can connect that on that as well. Sally, not seeing anything else on here. But I appreciate you jumping on and providing that update, and hopefully we'll get an update from you in the near future as well with some other great news of that progress that's happening.
Happy to come back. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Sally. Appreciate it. I'm going to stop screen sharing for a moment. I'm going to bring up sorry, folks. I'm navigating a couple screens. And if folks should be able to see my screen again. So for this next section, Melina, I think you are on. I saw you a moment ago.
Yes, I am on.
Hi, Melina.
Hello.
Perfect. See you. Yeah, so we made a number of plugs at the beginning of the meeting about IDA. So Melina, I think we're going to have you present on that draft survey, and I know we're going to take a moment in the meeting through the meeting itself as well to do a little bit of a test. But with that, I'm going to hand it off to you, and then let us know where you want us to jump in.
Sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for great to be here today, and it's great to join you. And thank you for allowing me to present on our air purifier survey. So so just to give everyone a little bit of background, we did launch the air purifier distribution program earlier this year. And what we want to know now is basically what folks have thought about the air purifier. So with this, just going to provide a little bit of an overview. Next slide, please. So just quickly, the agenda today is I'm going to provide a quick overview of the purpose, the objectives that we're hoping to achieve today, and then testing out the survey, and then just to get a little bit of feedback from all of you. And then finally, just a little bit of any remaining questions and answers that any questions that you may have. Next slide, please. So the purpose of this survey, like I said, is just to measure the effectiveness of the air purifiers, if they are working, if they are improving odors, and if they are having any effects on your health in terms of just reducing some of those symptoms that folks have been experiencing in consequence to the odors. And then it's also to help us understand if if these are the right questions and if we need to adjust anything in terms of any of these types of programs that we may have. Next slide, please. Our objectives, the objective of the survey today in terms of the test is to kind of just determine the clarity of the questions, if they are easy to understand, if there's any confusing wording, anything that maybe might not belong there, if it flows well, and also we understand that not everyone wants to take a survey. It's not the funnest thing. So we are also trying to make it as quick and painless as possible. Next slide, please. And now with that, I'm hoping you can scan the barcode here, the QR codes here, and just let me know if you have any trouble accessing as well. So there's one for English and there's one for Spanish. If you can go ahead and scan the QR codes, and if you can go through the survey, and basically we'll go ahead and take a few minutes. I'll allow you to take the survey on your own, just so that you can get a good experience if this is something that is working. Also, oh, thank you for adding. I was going to add the links in the chat, but perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that, Christian. So if you have any questions, please let me know, but I'll go ahead and give everyone just a few minutes to complete the survey. And then I'll check in to see if folks need a little bit of extra time.
Sounds good, Melina. And I guess one thing, just as folks are logging on, I know that some folks are logging on from their phone, so they might have a little bit of a hard time actually accessing the survey itself and doing that test with us. So Melina, I do have the survey on our browser as well. Maybe I'll give folks a minute and they can walk through it, and then we could also pull it up and maybe just do a little bit of a preview as well. But I do want to check and see if folks are able to access the QR code, either the Spanish or English, or the actual link at the bottom. And I know Jazz added that information, but if I can get thumbs up just from folks, if you've been able to access it and start going through it. And if you can just add that in the chat as well, just let us know, like, yes, it's working.
Great. Thanks, David.
Melanie, I think for the folks that are not able to do it because they're calling in, I'm going to pull up my screen and maybe we can just kind of go through it pretty quickly, and you can give us a quick highlight of like what we're seeing. And then that we can also, I think for that second part, get some feedback on the actual questions. But this is the English version that we're seeing on screen right now.
Right. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. So, and then I also want to add that if folks want to take the survey after the meeting, that's perfectly fine as well. I will have my information on the last slide. So if they want to email me and send me their feedback, that's perfectly fine as well. Like I said,
Yeah.
what I also would like is just to know how long it takes folks to go through the survey.
Yeah.
But just to quickly go over the survey here, it's just everybody has received their air purifier at different times. So that's the whole purpose of the first question, is just to understand how long you've had the survey. And the next question is, the next few
Es muy
questions are
rápido.
related to your household. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Es muy
Somebody,
rápida contestar la encuesta.
¿está hablando muy rápido?
Oh, Margarita, so right now we're just previewing it. So everyone, again, just as a note, I think just stepping back a little bit.
Sí,
This
no,
is just
comentaba que fue muy rápida, ya la contesté.
yeah. So the process. Okay. Okay, that's good feedback. So thank you, Margarita, for that feedback. But yeah, as a note, what Melina's needing
De
from
nada.
the group itself is just to get feedback on, as you're going through it, how the experience that you're seeing as you're filling out that survey itself. Because then I think, Melina, we want to share this with the broader public that's been part of the IDA program as well. So this is a little bit of a test just to make sure that it is the right survey, the right questions, the right format. But
Absolutely,
keep,
absolutely.
yeah. So I'll keep going through this just to show for those folks that are on their phone or just listening in. So, Melina, I'll hand it back over to you just to walk us through the rest of the questions, maybe really, really briefly, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. So, while you're taking the survey, don't feel free to keep going. So the next ones are just related just to kind of like your household size, just to make sure, so we can evaluate if in terms of size, to make sure that it's working. There's just a lot of different parameters that we have to look at in terms of when we're trying to determine if an air purifier is working well. So determining, like I said, household size, how often you're using it, if it's working to reduce odors, if it's having any effects on your health, if it's improved your symptoms at home, as well as if you've seen any changes in your electricity bill. We definitely want to know that as well. The next one we have is, how did you hear about the program? That's just to, help us, like I said, change any of our strategies if needed. And then like in terms of satisfaction, and then if you've liked it. And then we also invite folks to, depending on whatever you choose, there's also an ending question after this that will allow you to enter comments if something was not covered in the survey.
Sounds good. And Margarita, I see your hand up. Margarita.
Yo quería hacer un comentario.
Sí.
¿Cuál es su comentario, Margarita?
Yo sí he visto cambio con el purificador en mi casa. Sobre todo, el mayor cambio es de que puedo dormir, porque en la noche me despertaba el olor, y no era una ni dos noches en la semana, eran varias noches. Entonces, me dormía, pero otra vez me volvía a despertar el olor. Desde que tengo el aparato adentro del cuarto, ya no me despierto.
Qué bueno, me da mucho gusto, y qué bueno que le ha funcionado muy bien el purificador.
Sí, la verdad que sí, estamos muy agradecidos.
Gracias.
Gracias.
I think maybe we should go to the next slide, which has the question, so that way it sounds like folks have finished. So that way we can start kind of like some questions to kind of get, so that it can kind of help me get some feedback in terms of what folks think about the survey. And it sounds like everybody finished it quickly, so that's great to hear. So some of the questions to keep in mind is like, what did you like or dislike of the survey? Did you think that it was not thorough enough, or if any of the questions need to be clarified, or it sounds like it was quick for mostly everyone. And then did you feel that it covered everything that the survey should have covered, or if there's anything missing that you think is important to add? So I'll go ahead. I don't know if you want to moderate, Christian, in terms of the speakers.
Yeah, and I'm looking at our folks that are on here. So yeah, I mean, I think that first question is just maybe asking folks It seems like, yeah, most folks completed the survey pretty quickly. We didn't even get to preview it really in depth. And I think folks had already gone through it and filled it out. So I think that maybe speaks a little bit to that portion. But yeah, we'd like to hear from folks if there are any things that they liked about the survey as they were filling it out, things that they didn't like, or things that we could improve, I think more so for when this survey then is distributed to the broader public. Margarita, I see your hand up. I don't know if you had another thought or comment.
Oh, I think she put her hand down.
Okay.
So also, if anybody doesn't feel comfortable
perdón.
speaking up, feel free to add any comments as well.
So I
That
see,
works as well.
so I see one comment from Lupita. So it's I believe the questions are simple and easy to answer. Yeah, so they were just able to fill it out pretty easily, I think, even as we're
Great.
presenting the topic. So
Yeah, it's great to hear. Great to hear. Anyone else have any comments, any feedback that they would like to provide on the survey? Any questions that you think should be added in the survey? Anything that was missed?
and Melina, I think one thing.
Yo, Wendy, me gustaría comentar que se me hace que la encuesta está muy completa y que creo que no necesita nada más, se me hace que está muy completa y se entiende muy bien y creo que esta encuesta cubre todo lo que se necesita saber de acerca de aquí de la comunidad y de los purificadores. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Wendy.
So I feel, let's see if anyone else has, Maritza, I see you on camera. So Maritza, I don't know if you have any feedback.
Sí. No, bien, nada más agregar que se hace realmente sencillo el cuestionario. Creo que tiene las preguntas adecuadas generales, pero con información referente y necesaria para si hemos tenido algún cambio. Y yo creo que sí, en mi caso y como en todos los casos que he estado escuchando, sí se ha notado un cambio realmente pues valorable teniendo un purificador, ¿verdad? Entonces, pues yo en mi caso, qué bueno, y yo sé que estas encuestas les apoyan para poder continuar y tener algunos otros programas o mejores respuestas hacia la comunidad, pero gracias también por tener estos programas y darnos este apoyo con los purificadores y a la demás comunidad.
Gracias, Maritza.
Muchísimas gracias por los comentarios. Perfecto.
So,
Me da
Melina,
mucho
you
gusto.
see-
Yo quiero comentar algo.
Ajá.
Sí, ¿era Marisela?
Ajá.
Sí.
Yo quiero comentarles que aparte de todo lo que ya agregaron mis compañeras, que es muy importante, pero a mí también se me hizo muy importante el que ustedes en la encuesta preguntaran si el recibo de la luz haya cambiado o algo así, porque también están mostrando ustedes esa preocupación, ¿verdad? No nada más ahí está y ahí háganse bolas, sino que se están preocupando por lo que sigue. Sí, también a mí a partir de tener el purificador del aire fue una tranquilidad porque antes era una preocupación el irse a dormir y sobre todo en esta época de calor, que es cuando más surgen los malos olores. Entonces, infinitas gracias y felicitaciones a ustedes por haber hecho realidad este proyecto. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias por el comentario. Y qué bueno que es especialmente sobre específicamente esa pregunta. Gracias.
So, Melina, I do see one question in the chat, just on, I guess so there's a question potentially was repeated, so I'm not sure which one that question is. I don't see it on my part. Maybe in the Spanish version. But then the other question, and I think that was something that I was thinking as we were previewing it as well. Not everyone is familiar with the actual square footage of their home. But I don't know if there would be something that could be added there just to kind of, and I don't know what would be the best way to kind of like visualize like normally an apartment is, 800 square feet. This is like maybe a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, kind of like adding a little bit of a description, I think maybe just so that folks kind of like figure out where they're lying because there are some, the houses are vary depending on the size. But I wonder how needed that information or how accurate that needed to be, and then whether that would have like an impact in the results.
Yeah, absolutely. We can see if there's anything that we can add in there. Maybe like add a comment about the average size of
Yeah.
like a 1-bedroom or something like that. Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
I see David.
And
Yeah.
I believe I don't know if maybe there was an issue, but I think there's already a question there about bedroom, like how many bedrooms are in a household. How many bedrooms? Asking for how many? But yeah.
And then Margarita.
Sí, iba a comentar, ahorita recordé que 3 personas, entre esas una amiga mía, yo le comentaba hace como un mes, 2 meses, que aplicara para el purificador, porque ella vive por la altura de la Tocayo. Y no quiso, me salió con que ella y 2 personas más que no conozco, pero que yo cuando estaba promoviendo el purificador, que no lo querían pedir que porque les iba a afectar cuando se hicieran ciudadanas, porque lo tomaban como una ayuda del gobierno. Le digo, no, no te va a afectar en nada. Y pues no lo quisieron pedir ninguna de las 3 personas. Entonces sí se me hace importante que bueno, ahorita ya pasaron todas las reuniones donde se estuvo promoviendo, ¿no? De que pidieran las personas que lo ocuparan, pero que sí se comentara cuando uno lo promueve de que no le va a afectar en nada, porque supongo que así es, que no les puede afectar porque no es una ayuda que puede afectar cuando ellas se hagan ciudadanas o
Exactamente. Exactamente. Este
Ujú.
programa no es parte de ningún programa de asistencia del gobierno.
Ajá,
Este es específicamente para esta situación y no
exacto.
tiene nada que ver con ninguna de esas cosas. Entonces,
Ok.
que de todos modos, dígales que de todos modos manden su aplicación.
Yeah.
Pues sí, yo les dije, pero pues no las convencí. Y como estaban, mi amiga sí estaba para meter sus papeles para ciudadanía, me dijo, no, me va a afectar. Le digo, no te va a afectar en nada, pero pues no la convencí. Y las otras 2 personas tampoco quisieron. Yo me quedé pensando, no creo que afecte, porque pues es un programa como usted acaba de mencionar, de emergencia por la situación que estábamos pasando.
Sí, qué lástima, pero sí, nos pueden mandar correo electrónico y nosotros le podemos confirmar
Ok,
o que
muchas
nos llame.
gracias.
A usted,
Margarita.
gracias.
And then Lupita's asking if the applications are still available. And yes, I think that, Melina, I think you talked to that a little bit already, but and at the start of the meeting itself, I think we also made a plug that, that distribution is still happening. And as Shalom noted, the actual air purifiers are not being distributed at those events specifically, but folks are signing up, and then the purifier then will be mailed to the folks that have signed up. So, Melina, I don't know if you want anything else on that, but even if
That is
through this conversation, if you know your neighbors or folks that want to like sign up, yes, I think do sign up. Melina.
Yes, that is correct. We highly encourage you to everyone to sign up. We definitely want you to submit an application. If you have any issues, certainly contact us. We're happy to help you in submitting your application. Anything else?
Yeah, I want to see if anyone else has any other feedback on the survey. I guess, Melina, the other question that I'm thinking about is like, what is the timing of the survey being distributed? And I think that's at what point does it get finalized, and at what point does it kind of start making it out to the world?
Sure. We're planning on sending it out in the next couple of weeks. So as soon as we get a few internal things ironed out, and it should be sent out to everyone. And then we are hoping to have it open for about 4 weeks If we need to make any adjustments, we will, but we want to allow folks to have sufficient time to respond to the survey. And then I think if anybody else has any questions or anything like that, thanks, David, for entering the link to the air purifiers to apply. And I think if no one else has any feedback, I don't know, any last comments, we can move on to the last slide, which is just thank you so much for everyone for allowing me to be here. And if you have any questions or anything like that at the end or later, my information is right here. And like I said, thank you so much for providing that very valuable feedback. And I'm glad, and it's also great to hear that the air purifiers are working as they were intended. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Melina. So with that, we're actually going to move to our final slide and kind of the wrap up of our meeting today. So just some next step and reminders. The first reminder is that our September 17 meeting, that meeting is going to be virtual. And do see a little bit of an error here. It's not July, it's going to be September. So that is a reminder with that. The other thing is we should be receiving our weekly digest emails. These emails have community updates from APCD staff, programs, meetings that are happening. So as we're hearing about these things, we are going to be sending out these emails. You should be receiving them. The other thing, and maybe I'm going to put you on the spot, or Brisa, just to talk through, because I saw a comment at the beginning of the meeting about the calendar entry when it comes to the meeting itself. But I believe everyone should have received, if you're a formal CSC member, should have received a calendar invite with the login information. But Brisa, Jazz, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, that's correct. Everyone should have received one, but if you did not, I just put our email into the chat, ibcsc@kernswest.com, and we'll make sure that you get the link to join the meeting. We know you get, when you sign up to register, you're supposed to get another link, but sometimes it doesn't come through. So we've added that link to join the meeting in the calendar invite to make it easier for members to join. So again, if you're having any issues, just reach out to us and we'd be happy to help you.
So with that actually takes us to the end of our meeting. I want to thank everyone for being here with us today, taking the time to participate. Loved hearing kind of the feedback, I think, both on the presentation itself, but then also the work that Melina is doing. And then Margarita, I do see your hand up. So Margarita.
Sí, por último, nada más les encargo que sí me manden los enlaces, por favor,
Sí, sí.
porque me registro, pero nunca me llega el de confirmación donde viene el enlace y tengo que andarlo pidiendo a otras compañeras.
No, sí, y Margarita, le vamos a mandar, ahí le mandamos una llamadita y le damos más,
Ok,
le conectamos porque debe estar recibiendo un correo electrónico con una entrada de calendario y eso debe tener el enlace en sí en el calendario, so nomás es una nota para todos. Pero le podemos dar
ok,
una llamadita y ya confirmamos todo con usted.
ok, gracias, muy amable.
Gracias,
Bonita
Margarita.
tarde.
So with that, David, I did see you go off or go on camera. I don't know if you want to jump in or had any other thoughts. David might have hopped off already. But if not, with that, we'll wrap up today's meeting. Thank you again. Gracias a todos por estar con nosotros y nos vemos el mes que viene. Thank you, everyone.
Gracias.